Alex, will you tell this jury about Maggie and your relationship with her?
Y'all saw a picture. She was just as beautiful inside as she was outside. And she was so adventurous. You couldn't tell her something was good or bad. She wanted to find out for herself. She wanted to do it, see it, experience it on her own and form her own opinion. She was devoted. Those two boys, Buster, Paul, me. She made sure we didn't want for anything, ever. Fun, playful. She had a laugh that, you didn't even have to know what was funny. If you heard her laugh, you would laugh. She had this little playful look where she'd smile at you and bite her lip. I can't do it, but when she would just do it, it'd just melt you. She was such a lady, such a feminine person, a girl. But then she had two boys, and she didn't grow up in the swamp and in the country, riding four-wheelers and hunting and fishing. And she changed everything. She became a boy's mom. Her life became ball and riding four-wheelers and, doing those things. Now, don't get me wrong, she was still 100% girl. And you heard Marion say, she loved to do those things with her nieces, but, she threw herself into her boys' life. She never took not working for granted. She might not have worked, but I promise you, she worked. She worked to make sure me and Paul and Buster had everything. She wanted a big family, and pregnancy just didn't suit her. Her pregnancies were so hard. I would leave her in the mornings and she'd be sick. I'd come home and check on her and she'd be sick. I'd come back at the end of the day and she'd be sick. She was so sick all the time with both those boys. And when we had Paw, Maggie got in trouble and Paw got in trouble. And just pregnancy didn't suit her, so we decided that, we would just have the two boys. And, I just think how hard it was on her, just made her love those boys so much more. And she did. But she was the kind of person, Maggie, she could put on the most elegant ball gown and go to the governor's mansion and hang out with, the most affluent people, whatever. Or she could come down to, she could go to a food bank in Hampton or Walterboro and fit in. Everybody at both places would say when she left, and that Maggie, she's a good one. She's just a special person.
Alan,
Very special person.
would you ever do anything to harm Maggie?
I would never hurt Maggie. Ever.
Will you tell the jury about Paul, please, and your relationship with him?
And Paul, Paul was just the brightest. He was the brightest. He's the most inquisitive young man. He wanted to be a part of everything. If you were working, I can remember as a little boy, you'd be working on something. It didn't matter what it was. His little head was going to come in there, his nose in there to see what you were doing. He was a man's man. He was 100% country boy. He was tough. I mean, he could hunt anything. He could catch any fish. He could run any piece of equipment. He could use any tool. He could do anything. At 22 years old, he could do so many things. He took care of so many, and he was so tough. But on the other hand, he had a side to him that was just so sweet. He wouldn't come home where he wouldn't go check on his grandparents. He wouldn't go near Somerville where he wouldn't go out of his way, check on his grandparents. To be such a tough person, he would get all of his buddies and get on a boat and go watch a sunset. How many 22-year-old people do stuff like that? He was such a special boy. He cared about people. He was fiercely loyal. He was so misrepresented in the media. Never an accurate story told about what he was. And I'll challenge you right now. I would challenge everybody in this room to go find somebody that knew Pawpaw, who really knew him, that did not have an ulterior motive, that would say something negative about him. And I challenge everybody who can hear me now to do that. Paul was that kind of person. If you knew him, he would help you. And he would be glad to help you. I thought Mark Ball made a good point when he said, Paul might not have quite found his place yet. Paul was ADHD, and so he would jump around from thing to thing a lot. But there's absolutely no question in my mind whatsoever that Paul would have found whatever that thing was that he was going to do. And whatever that ended up being, he was going to be one of the best at it that you've ever known. And I'll tell you one more thing. I didn't even know this when Paul was alive. But, excuse me. When they were doing his eulogy, I gave it the names of some of his friends. And he had a real cute friend that they were just friends, but a cute little girl that Maggie adored. I didn't know her very well, but Maggie did. Maggie adored her. But they talked to her, and Paw, we learned this from her, Julianne. And at 22 years old, I learned, Paw would tell his friends, be present, appreciate where you are, the things you have, and the people around you. I think a lot of that came from it hurt Paul so bad when Mallory died. But 22-year-olds, do you know that think that way? Be present. Appreciate things around you. At 22 years old. He's the most special boy.
Do you love Paul?
But I love him. Like no other. He and Buster.
Do you love Maggie?
More than anything. I love Maggie from the first time we went out.
Did you kill Maggie?
No, I did not kill Maggie. I did not kill Paul. I would never hurt Maggie, and I would never hurt Paul. Ever. Under any circumstances.
Thank you. Please answer any questions the state may have.
Yes, sir.